Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll look at some of the challenges and opportunities for U.S. beef exports in the Japanese market. Plus, now's the time to register for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in San Antonio. We'll have the details you need to know.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. We're coming to you today from San Antonio, Texas, where in just a few months, thousands of cattlemen and women will come together for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. And the good news is that registration and housing is now open. The convention runs from February 5th through the 7th. Go to ncba.org for all the details on this can't-miss event. As the voice of the cattle industry in Washington, D.C., the National Cattlemen's Beef Association makes a difference for cattle producers. Every day, the D.C. staff work on a number of policy and regulatory issues that could impact the U.S. beef industry. We've got an update on what's happening in Washington, D.C. in this week's Beltway Beef Spotlight.
I'm very thankful to have been named the next Chief Executive Officer for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and I'm looking forward to not only the opportunities that are coming our way, but especially the challenges. But before we move into those challenges, it's important to thank Kendall Frazier for his 34 years of service to NCBA and all the steady leadership he has provided us. But now it's time to talk about the future and where we're going. And of course, right now, everybody's focused on the challenge of the markets and all of the aftermath and fallout we have seen since the Tyson plant fire in Holcomb, Kansas. NCBA is going to stay a leader in this discussion, and we will continue to work with Secretary Perdue and the United States Department of Agriculture as they investigate the market situation. We encourage them to be very thorough, to get all the data, facts, and figures they possibly can, because we know what they bring forward will help us all chart a better path for the cattle industry. But that's not the only challenge we have. We have to continue to fight back against fake meat. But more importantly, we need to fight back harder, and we need to fight back louder. And that's exactly what you're going to start seeing more of from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Trade will continue to be a focus. We've had some tremendous news in the world of trade with the EU and Japan. There's more to come on that. And also, we need to do everything we can to protect the checkoff. This has been a tremendously successful self-help program, and we need to preserve it and make sure that we improve it. So I look forward to leading NCBA as we tackle all of these challenges.
Want to stay on top of the issues in Washington? Just follow the Beltway Beef feed on Twitter for the latest news. I'm personally asking you to join me in helping support the work being done on Capitol Hill that directly impacts you and me by becoming an NCBA member. When you join, you'll receive the Beltway Beef newsletter, a weekly update straight from NCBA staff in Washington, D.C. To join, just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. For years, Japan has been the leading export market for U.S. beef, but it hasn't been easy. Recently, Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter had a chance to visit Japan to learn about the hard work that goes into building export opportunities for U.S. beef.
For Japanese consumers, one factor that influences what they buy is the story behind the product. That's one reason why the Heartland team, a group of U.S. beef, pork, corn, and soybean producers, visited Japan to make a personal connection and to show the people behind the U.S. product that's offered in Japan's grocery stores.
We have beef producers and pork producers both on this trip right now, as well as corn and soybean folks. But having a beef producer get in front of the buyer at Eon Supermarkets, which just happened an hour ago. I introduced him a few minutes ago, and we had a nice discussion. But the buyer, Eon, is the largest retailer in Japan and a big supporter, uses only U.S. beef and U.S. pork. Having them meet one of the producers that's supplying the animals for his beef, you can just see the wheels spinning and putting together that whole story. And I think there's nobody better than a producer to help tell our story when it comes to marketing to the end users in these foreign markets.
I think strength in numbers really does work. It's really neat when we sit down and talk to some buyers today and they realize that, that we care enough about the product we're trying to sell, that we're coming from 12 states all over the country in the heart of the United States here to come to Japan and try to promote our products.
In terms of meeting with whether it's processors or retailers or the consumers, the way I feel like we're treated as U.S. producers is top notch. It's wonderful to be associated with a product that's commanding that kind of respect and that kind of attention here in Japan.
From retail stores to restaurants, the Heartland team saw firsthand that grain-fed U.S. beef is popular in Japan. But because of an existing trade agreement, Australian beef has a significant price advantage over U.S. beef. Even so, there is the potential for a new U.S. trade agreement with Japan to level the playing field, and that, along with the ongoing work of USMEF, holds the promise of continuing the growth of U.S. beef exports to Japan.
The Japan market is very important to us. It's our #1 market and continues to grow. Tourism is becoming a very popular thing here, and with tourism, more beef consumption outside of the home, and so I think that's all goes hand in hand. And of course, we got the Olympics coming this next year. We're going to be in prime position to take advantage of that. I think this market's very important, and I think we still got continued growth that we can gain from here.
Last year, the Japanese market for U.S. beef was worth more than $2 billion. And for the Heartland team, the experience of spending time in Japan gave them confidence that U.S. producers have a bright future in this key export market.
I'm telling you, it's really amazing. The staff we have here at USMEF is doing a great job. The connections that they have with the buyers and the packers in this that we've got to meet with this week has been really amazing. I mean, we've seen many examples of what they're doing to improve beef demand here in Japan.
So yeah, USMEF partners with a lot of these retail chains and some of the importers to get into the market and let the Japanese consumer be aware of what's available to them in U.S. beef. And for me as a producer, I mean, the export market honestly is the growth industry side of things where we can really grow the beef industry.
With the USMEF Heartland team in Japan, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
To learn more about the work of the U.S. Meat Export Federation and its efforts to enhance beef demand overseas, just visit their website. That's usmef.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, NCBA President Jennifer Houston explains why the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show is a can't-miss event. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to go deep in the heart of Texas for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show? It's the cattle industry's biggest convention back in San Antonio, a place filled with incredible sights, history, food, and fun. And you can't afford to miss the huge NCBA Trade Show.
The trade show is unbelievable. I think it's the biggest one I've ever been to, and it seems like it just gets bigger and better every year.
There's no better place for cattlemen and women to learn, have fun, and connect with fellow producers from across the country.
Cattle Industry Convention is one of those can't miss, right? If you haven't gone or haven't attended, you see so many old friends, and it really is. It's a combination of business and social.
Amazing speakers, unbeatable education, all for cattle producers. So plan now to go deep in the heart of Texas for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. Visit ncba.org for more.
What does it mean to be an American cattleman? It means you have what it takes where it counts, on the inside. At Ritchie, we understand that. It's what's on the inside that defines us. We share the same values: ingenuity, commitment, sense of pride. These are the values that built this country. They're the values that built this company. Ritchie, proud to be a partner to the American cattlemen since 1921.
The 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in San Antonio, Texas will be here before you know it. It's a unique and fun environment for cattle industry members to come together to network, create policy, and have a little fun. We asked several producers to share their thoughts on the trade show and why it's such a highlight of the event.
The NCBA trade show is gigantic and all kinds of exhibitors, obviously cattle products and so forth, but beyond that, and every area of the beef, the life of a cow, a calf, a steer is represented there. And so a place to learn, a place to see what the new products are, and to talk to people you do business with, whether it's animal health or machinery, implement dealers and so forth. So it's a great place to get together.
I kind of say that you could spend days going through the trade show. It's a very large trade show, but I think anything that you might possibly want on your ranch, any possible service, any new innovation you're going to find it at the Cattle Industry Convention.
It's overwhelming if you've never been there because there's so much of it. It's the largest agricultural trade show of its kind at anybody's convention. It'll be upwards probably this year of 8 to 10 acres of everything imaginable. You name it, it's there. Everything from large equipment to clothing. Every piece of equipment and every tool that you could use on a ranch is there, and it's just a great learning opportunity. At the same time, you're walking around with a few thousand more cattlemen like yourself. Very, very interesting, very entertaining, and certainly great education to come from it.
And joining me now to talk about the 2020 convention is NCBA President Jennifer Houston. Jennifer, folks may not realize just how important this meeting is here in San Antonio, but tell folks a little bit about some of the business that takes place during the week.
Well, we do business in a variety of fashions. Our policy affiliates, our state cattlemen, they come with ideas that come up in their states and their local cattlemen, and it's an interim policy time until we come together for our summer business meetings. So we meet on things like our federal lands, our tax and credit, our animal health, live cattle marketing. On the other side, our federation members that come from our state beef councils, they're meeting along with the Cattlemen's Beef Board members to talk about preliminary direction for the 2021 fiscal year of what our beef checkoff dollars are going to be doing. In addition to that, all of our sponsors are down on the trade show. They're building relationships and talking to people and actually making sales.
You bet. And many people come to the convention solely for the educational purposes. It's an incredible week of education on all things beef related. Tell us about what we can expect.
It is. We start off with Cattlemen's College, which is a variety of subjects that are of interest to cattle producers, and it's just a whole day of education alone. But in addition, as they attend some of the general sessions as well as all of these policy committee or checkoff committees, it's a learning experience in every committee meeting.
You know, and it's not all work. We do find some time for a little fun, especially at a place like San Antonio. What can folks expect this year?
Well, we're down here on the beautiful River Walk, and so that's always a big part of San Antonio. We're going to be, a lot of people probably be going over to, there's a Pearl River Pearl section at the Old Pearl Brewing Company. In addition, Thursday night we're going to have a sunset music festival at Sunset Station with lots of music, lots of food. And then on Friday, it is the NCBA Professional Bull Riders Invitation down at the Alamo Dome. So lots of fun and lots of work. Both.
That was a big hit last time, and I'm sure it'll be a same exciting evening this year. Now, you've been to a lot of these, Jennifer. I'm curious, what's your favorite part of convention?
Well, I'm sort of a policy nerd, so I like the meetings, but the fun's good. And then the trade show is always neat to see what's new and all the new products and technologies that are coming up with. It's something to look forward to.
So Jennifer, you talk to a lot of cattlemen and women all across the country, and I'm curious, for those people who may not be holding leadership positions, what do they tell you about the value of coming to convention?
Well, first they tell me it's just an overwhelming experience of all things beef. But one thing they usually point out is our incredible trade show. We're proud of it. They get to see the products, they get to see the technologies, talk to people who are knowledgeable about that, and that's things they can take back home to their operations.
There's no doubt San Antonio is one of my favorite places for a convention, and I'm looking forward to a good week in February.
Yeah, where better to be in February than San Antonio, Texas?
Indeed. Now remember, registration is open for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in San Antonio. Get all the details at the website ncba.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how members of the beef industry in South Dakota are giving back to their community. That story and more when we return.
Case IH is proud to grow the century-long Farmall legacy by introducing the Farmall Utility 75A tractor. More comes standard on this economy-level tractor, giving you the features and performance you need without the additional costs. FPT patented engine and emission solutions require no regeneration, so you can keep your tractor running longer. The Farmall Utility 75A is engineered with heavier components built into the tractor. This evenly distributes weight in all the right places without the addition of wheel weights. The optional power shuttle transmission makes the Farmall Utility 75A easy to operate, especially during loader work. By simply pulling the shuttle lever up or down, you can move forward or reverse without pushing in the clutch to shift gears. All Farmall Utility 75A tractors come with spacious, comfortable cab and non-cab operating stations that offer exceptional visibility with easy access to all your controls. A high-visibility roof panel comes standard, making loader work like stacking bales much easier. Experience the difference. Test drive a Farmall Utility 75A today. Contact your Case IH dealer or visit caseih.com/minute.
On Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we love highlighting the good work being done by cattle producers in and around their communities. Reporter Jill Sheridan has more on a great event put on by the South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation to help provide hunger relief to those in need.
Cattle producers work hard every day to provide a high-quality protein that feeds families around the globe. But often, the need for that food is greatest close to home. South Dakota beef producers recognized this and decided they could help.
Hunger does start in your backyard. You know, a lot of us, because we have beef so abundantly available to us, we never think about that. But when you go beyond, you really find the need that's out there. When we first looked for what we needed in this state back when we formed the foundation, we went and interviewed a number of different organizations to try and find a partner that could best fit the needs of the state. And when we sat down with Feeding South Dakota, it was just a perfect fit. There is a glaring need for protein. Protein is the hardest thing for a food facility to keep on the shelf.
We know that about 1 in 9 individuals in the state of South Dakota are considered to be food insecure. More alarming number is that 1 in 6 of those are children. We're distributing over 14 million pounds of food a year to help in the fight against hunger in South Dakota.
And when Matt told us only 4% of that was animal protein, we knew that we could help. It was a very logical decision to make and a very logical pitch to the industry because they work so hard to tirelessly provide a very nutritious product.
We've been really excited to partner with Feeding South Dakota, but part of their challenge is that their food dollar buys a lot of carbohydrates and snack food and cereal and stuff pretty cheap. But when it comes to supplying protein in their diet, it's something that's really hard to come by. And so they didn't have any designated funds really to do that specifically.
Once the plan of giving money to Feeding South Dakota to purchase beef for their food pantries was set, the foundation board members sat down and came up with an idea for a community-wide event to help raise those funds.
The next step to providing Feeding South Dakota with the funds to procure beef is really where the idea for the Primetime Gala was born. And in 2014, we planned that thing for the first time, having no idea what we were doing. The first year, we set a goal to raise $100,000, and I'm proud to report that after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, we donated $115,000 the first year.
The Cattlemen's Foundation's Primetime Gala is probably the event by which all other fundraising events are measured by in the state of South Dakota. I think it's exceeded the expectations of both the Cattlemen's Foundation, us as a nonprofit, and probably even the community in the state. I mean, I think it truly is the premier event that happens in the state of South Dakota. I can't think of another event where they're going to have a banquet and they're going to provide steaks to 1,500 or 1,600 people at a whack and then follow that up with a headliner concert.
The one thing that we've been blessed with from the beginning is the sponsors, and they have stepped up to show that they support this industry. And then along the way, we added in a huge donation with Billion Motors giving us a Chevy Duramax pickup, brand new, for a 5-year deal. We added EB giving us a trailer, and it's just exploded. So everybody has really responded to the need because they see us giving the dollars back.
So what we decided to do was donate a stock trailer that would be auctioned off with all the proceeds adding into the event. Every year, we call it our Primetime Gala Special Edition. It's not just a normal stock trailer. It's got lights, it's got paint, it's got aluminum wheels, but in the same breath, it's got all the options that ranchers and farmers need on their stock trailers. Just wrapped in a cool package.
This now brings the total to $1,229,000.
This year, there's no doubt that we'll eclipse the $1 million raised mark in funds for Feeding South Dakota. The industry as a whole has taken a lot of pride that this is where we are in providing that protein today.
In addition to the milestone monetary donation, the Primetime Gala also provides an opportunity for beef producers to come together for an evening of camaraderie, not only with each other, but also with consumers from around the community.
It's the cattle producers of South Dakota coming to our largest city, interacting with the crowd here. As Sioux Falls continues to expand more and more, we have people that are farther and farther removed from being a part of a farm and ranch. And so we get to interact with those people. Maybe a nice unintended benefit or consequence of starting this program, in addition to donating all the great beef to Feeding South Dakota.
I think what producers really identified the most with is it wasn't just providing money, and it wasn't providing just any ordinary food, but it was really about providing the thing that they worked the hardest to produce.
We're so incredibly grateful to have this partnership because of what they have helped provide to us monetarily that ultimately then enables us to provide the same kind of products that they're raising. My hat's off to them for helping feed the world and for helping us feed South Dakota.
Reporting from the Primetime Gala in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I'm Jill Sheridan for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Protecting and improving the environment has long been the focus of America's foremost land stewards, farmers and ranchers. Each year, the Environmental Stewardship Award Program, also known as ESAP, recognizes the nation's best operations for their stewardship and conservation efforts. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brad Bulla has an exclusive look at this year's selection process for the regional winners of the award.
At first glance, it looks like any other group gathered in a meeting room. But this committee is made up of cattle producers from around the nation, joined with other experts on conservation and care of the land. They meet each year to carefully consider detailed applications from cattle operations, and then to select 7 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award.
Every year that I've been involved, this is the 4th year, I think the applications maybe have got a little better every year. And it's amazing to me to sit there, but it makes me feel good when I see the high quality of things, how ranchers are caring for their environment and how conservation minded that they are.
Having never been to this process of finding these elite and going through these process, it's been incredible to see the depth and quality of the Environmental Stewardship Award winners and the potential winners, and to see the lengths they go to work with our cattle industry and make the environment the cattle eat and work on so much better is incredible.
This year, the committee met in Chicago and had the rare opportunity to tour the world headquarters of McDonald's, a major purchaser of U.S. beef and one of the sponsors of the Environmental Stewardship Award.
I truly believe that McDonald's is very committed to the ranchers in America. They have a huge percentage of all of their beef that goes from the United States beef. And it's really clear that they care about the environmental stewardship, they care about the animals, and they care about these landowners and their sustainability on the land. So that came across very, very strongly while we're here, and it's been fun to just be a part of seeing it from the ground up and what they've been able to accomplish in the United States. It's really incredible.
McDonald's, I really like the way that they care about sustainability. And I think they were talking to their employees and what they're doing here. You know, they're doing what, you know, trying to produce a good product, have something that the consumer wants that they sell. But they care about what I'm doing. I think they really do care about sustainability on our ranches, on our places throughout the United States and globally.
Besides McDonald's, sponsors of the Environmental Stewardship Award program include Corteva Agriscience, USDA's NRCS, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Those sponsors allow the program to continue recognizing cattlemen and women for their outstanding care of the land and helping to tell that story to the public.
It's challenging for advisors to the committee as we go through these nominations, these packages. But it also lets you see the breadth of the industry, the depth of the industry, the commitment of the industry to environmental management, to being successful, and to sharing that information not only with their own neighbors, but the public.
The Environmental Stewardship Program is now 29 years old, and to me it's one of our greatest tools in connecting our consumers and our producers and the long path of sustainability that our industry has been on. And it's just super to be able to highlight to our consumer the good work that our people in my industry do.
From Chicago, I'm Brad Buller reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come, we'll head to Virginia for a closer look at one of this year's regional winners. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Out here, you know what needs to be done, and you know what it means to those you're doing it for. But every sunrise brings something new, with the weather, the soil, the markets, your machinery. You can't always predict what it will be. So it's good to know that Ram trucks are more than capable of helping you get it done right.
It started with a man, a plot of land, and a few head of cattle. That man, your great-grandfather. You've got his name and his legacy, too. It's what you fight to live up to and work to leave behind. With innovation, integrity, and passion that runs as deep as yours, we'll be there. For your operation, for your future, for you. This is why Merck Animal Health works.
When it comes to the beef business, there's no room for gray area. The decisions being made in Washington affect the future of the beef industry, the livelihood of your fellow farmers and ranchers. Your National Cattlemen's Beef Association knows there's what benefits cattlemen and there's what doesn't. To us, it's as clear as black and white. Visit joinncba.org to learn more.
Recently, the 2019 regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award were announced. All of these operations are dedicated to preserving and protecting their natural resources for future generations that will one day live and work on the land. Let's head to Virginia for a closer look at the winner from Region 1.
Just after dawn, cattle are on the move at Overhome Farm in Virginia. Ronnie Knuckles' family has been living and working on this land since 1876. Ronnie took over management duties in 2009 after years spent in the construction business.
It was a farm that I was very close to and the land I loved, and a lot of family history here. But I really had not thought of being a cattleman. I started looking, well, how can I improve this? If I'm going to do it, I've got to do it on my terms. I've got to do it where I can make a go of it and get it to where it's easier to handle by myself, because I would be by myself on most of it.
One concern Ronnie had was how his cattle were impacting the water sources in and around his property. The creeks on the farm feed into the James River, which then empties into Chesapeake Bay. So Ronnie worked with his Soil and Water Conservation District to install 15,000 linear feet of fencing, along with 35-foot vegetation buffers to exclude cattle from the streams and ponds.
We had a chance to clean them up, and they recovered very quickly. The eroded banks, the shorelines of the pond were all trampled. Within 2 years, they were green, and they continue to green and fill in and grow. And the paths that they had created to go down to the creeks and pond, have silted in, but they have filled and vegetated. So we've healed that up, and the water is just so much cleaner.
The environment looked like it was suffering the way it looked. I mean, it just looked tired, and this really rejuvenated our waterway. I mean, it really did, and our ponds.
The creeks were in bad shape when we came here, and just to see the beauty of this place now, the water quality improvements, the wildlife habitat improvements that go along with all of that. It's really been nice to come out and see what can be done with good management.
Ronnie also added a new system for getting water to cattle in pastures where it wasn't available before. Pond water is pumped into reservoirs and then gravity-fed to tanks throughout the operation. With the new water system in place, Ronnie was able to work with the Natural Resources Conservation Service to create a grazing plan that would improve the productivity of his pastures.
The stream exclusion was definitely the foundation that we built on. Initially, I thought that was it. This is the whole program. I'm going to do stream exclusion. We're going to replace waters. End of story. But it grew from there. They suggested rotational grazing. A concept was entirely new to me. I hadn't dealt with it, had no experience with it. But they sold it with such confidence that it made it easy to accept it, that, hey, this will work. And so we put the plan in play and started fencing. We started rotating, and pastures, for the first time, had a chance to rest. They're getting better forage because I'm rotating. The pastures are much better condition than they were. Since the system has gone in, and like I say, all this was new concept to me, I've seen areas that I wanted to refine and subdivide, so I've gone in, and I've probably done another 1.5 miles, 2 miles of fencing out of my pocket because I know it works. I can see the benefit from it.
To further improve the quality of his forage and maximize his days on pastures, Ronnie began strip grazing by using polywire to subdivide his pastures.
So I've already divided into 14 paddocks or pastures, so I'm already rotating. Why do I want to strip graze? Well, within each pasture, you've got different types of grasses. If you give the cattle the whole pasture, first of all, they're going to trample half of it. So you've cut that pasture in half. So by strip grazing, you cut down on the waste. So you're expanding your grazing capacity because you've reduced your waste. They clean as they go, and then you can back fence and start regrowth the day after they come off. And I think if it's done right, the cattle become your co-workers because they're taking this stuff, the forage that's growing, they're processing it, they're putting it back in the ground in a more usable fashion for the next plants to grow.
Ronnie's a definite leader when it comes to trying some of these new forages and the grazing techniques. And the wonderful thing about it is, once he tries some things, he's been very open to inviting others from around the region to his farm on pasture walks and farm tours, just to share his experience and what's worked for him.
Ronnie and Cheryl made a long-term commitment to preserve their farm by placing it in a permanent conservation easement, which protects the land from development. It's just one of many stewardship efforts that are ensuring that the family legacy on Overhome Farm will continue.
I don't know, it's something about the history here and the If you keep looking back here, how many people in the family, generations, have farmed here. You just hope you can carry that on. You know, it'll continue.
I've improved my animal health, everything about it, the appearance of the farm. Everything has built off of that one premise: we need to take care of the land. This farm has survived for 250 plus years, and I just feel like that it is a good farm now. I think it can be better. I think it can steadily be improved, and I think my goal as manager for this short duration is to make as many improvements as I can to make it that much better for the next generation to start, and hopefully they'll build on it.
Now, if you'd like to find out more about the Environmental Stewardship Award winners, see photos and videos from their operations, or even learn how to nominate someone for the award, visit environmentalstewardship.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how John Deere equipment is improving the productivity of a Montana operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Now a BQA tip from the Beef Quality Assurance Program.
My tip today is about biosecurity. It's about bringing cattle onto the place, just bringing in new additions to the herd. If at all possible, what we want to do is we want to get a health program from those cattle. Cattle that are coming in from out of state have the benefit of having a health certificate. So we've had eyes on those cattle. They've looked at those cattle and seen that these cattle are indeed healthy, and that's why they're coming in. Even though those cattle are healthy, we do want to keep them separate from the rest of our herd. Get some background information if at all possible, find out what kind of herd health program they've been on. Keep cattle separate for about 30 days, about 4 weeks to 30 days, and keep an eye on them and watch them. During that time, it's a really good time to take samples if you need to take samples to see if they could be incubating disease. Get them on your herd health program. If you need to do any procedures like vaccinations or deworming, even do some samples to see if they have parasites, that kind of thing. So that's a really good time to go ahead and get them integrated into your herd health program before you actually get contact with your herd.
Find out more about beef quality assurance at bqa.org.
When it comes to making hay for cattle, it's important to have the right equipment to get the job done quickly and efficiently. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brad Bulla has more on how one operation is using John Deere equipment to put up high-quality hay.
Head to western Montana in midsummer, and nearly everywhere you look, you'll see farmers and ranchers working to quickly and efficiently put up the very best hay they can.
So the quality of our hay is critical. So when we background those calves, we don't feed them any concentrates. All we feed them is long stem hay, which to most people seems bizarre. How can you get by just feeding hay on a weaned calf? But we're able to put on between 1 pound and 1 3/4 pounds of gain a day with that quality of hay.
Can we find more efficient ways to do things? That's a big thing for us. We run fewer guys and more cows than we ever have in the history of the ranch. And being efficient has become a huge thing for us. But to be able to do the same thing year in and year out without going backwards is important.
With fewer hands available to tackle the work, advanced technology in every piece of equipment these producers use in the hayfield is hugely valuable.
The cattle producers, they want efficiency, so you'll see they want to be able to put their hay up fast, round bales, be able to feed them and handle them easily, so John Deere helps with that a lot.
Our farming tractor has auto track, and we can run way more hours in a day, especially at night because you don't have to see as well. And that, in Montana, we have such small windows for planting and for everything else. Anything that we can do to save time is huge.
Efficiency and operator fatigue has been improved by technology innovations that have been added to all of the machinery used in the hayfield.
These machines have gotten smarter and they're much more connected. Telematically, they're more connected. So there's all kinds of aspects that we're using in the dealership with the technology piece. So these particular machines, the swathers that are running over here in the background, we can get service alerts from them, so we can be proactive with service issues that may come up. We can also send that machine information, as well as the producer can see the efficiency of that machine, how it's running, and make his other machines maybe match his most efficient machine.
Another awesome thing is our John Deere Auto Track. It is hands down the best in the industry. You have other machines that aren't integrated, so you have a steering wheel in front of you turning back and forth. Ours are all integrated. It drives itself. It's built to be driven by a computer. I don't know how many of you have sat in a swather for 12, 14 hours a day. At the end of the day, you're tired. Now you get to sit back, you get to watch the hay feed into you. You get to look at other things in the field. You get to see, oh, I got a big badger hole there. I better get, the guys out to take care of this. Oh, I got a rock pile here. You're easier on your equipment. You're being more productive. You're being more fuel efficient. You're getting the max amount of work done in a day, and it pays for itself at the end of the day. The John Deere automation on the round bales is really cool. So you're going along, you set your points for how far you want to go in and out. You want to make a 68-inch bale, you have your machine set to stop at 65. It rolls forward, it stops at 68. During that process, your net wrap starts tying. All you do is you take your lever, flip your tractor into the middle position, it ties, it opens the baler door, dumps it, closes it, beeps at you. At that point, all you have to do is flip your forward reverser into forward again, and you're off going again.
So years ago, when the round balers were in their heyday, we did all twine, or we individually, you put twine on a bale. Well, it took about 1 minute and 45 seconds to do that. Then when John Deere came out with surface wrap, we cut that to less than 30 seconds. So if you do the math on that, our productivity per baler gained about 200 bales a day, just with that simple innovation. Now we have moisture testers on the balers. That should help decrease putting up any wet hay that becomes moldy. That's been huge. The consistency of the bale is great. And that's one thing, whether we're baling our hay or we're baling for customers, the consistency of that bale is the number one thing. You want every bale the same. You want a good square bale, the surface wrap tight. Those John Deere balers deliver that.
In addition to being a cattle and hay producer, David Schuett is also part owner of Frontline Ag Solutions, a John Deere dealer with 10 locations serving producers across Montana. A common theme for all of those customers is the value they place on John Deere reliability, parts, and service.
When we're haying here in Dillon, we're open 7 days a week at the dealership, and we're on service 24/7, because this is critical to these people. This is the most important time of the year for hay, for them, is their crops.
Dealership is probably one of the biggest things. The support that we get from John Deere. Obviously, they have the highest resale out there. That's kind of always important. Having reliable equipment that we know will work is a big thing for us. When we go to work, we like our equipment to do the same.
Reporting from Western Montana, I'm Brad Bulla for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about how John Deere equipment can bring value to your farm or ranch, visit the website johndeere.com. Still ahead, it's time for a visit with our good friend Baxter Black. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Behringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
We know you're up before the dawn because the cattle rise before the sun. And you spend long hours in the saddle because the herd isn't always over the next rise. And you care for the land because you know it takes care of your family. And we know you do great work. And it's time to tell that story to the marketplace. IMI Global is here to help you do just that.
At Leachman Cattle, we're committed to building more profitable cattle. As a third-generation seed stock producer, our family has been in this business for over 80 years. Today, we have the best technology ever to build more profitable cattle. Our dollar profit index is a leader in the industry to help you balance all the traits that drive your bottom line. Give us a call or go to www.leachman to learn more.
It's always a tough choice for a farmer to make when it's necessary to tow a crippled vehicle. Should he have his wife drive the towing unit, or should she sit behind the wheel of the one being towed? Kent's old 3/4-ton pickup sat like a statue on top of a hill above their farm for years. Tourists might have remarked, "Oh, how poignant that some farmer has made a monument to his faithful old truck." However, the neighbors knew the pickup broke down right up there and was abandoned. Well, on that fateful day, Kent asked his wife to help him tow it to the shop. Complicating the operation was that the master cylinder was dry, the clutch plate was rusted to the flywheel, and the engine didn't run. "Don't worry," he told her, "all you have to do is steer." Well, the plan was that he would gently push her to the edge of the hill with the loader bucket. How, she inquired suspiciously, would she be able to stop it once she was headed down the slope toward the shop? He tapped his head with his finger to indicate he had already accounted for this contingency. "I will have the log chain hooked from the loader bucket to the back bumper to let you roll down easy." She gave him a skeptical look as they began. She tipped over the ridge as he slowed to take up the slack. The truck picked up speed and never broke a step when the chain snapped like an old rubber band. Down the hill at a racing pace she flew, through the cut banks, the washes, the down fences, the creeks, and the ponds. She finally high-centered on a stack of posts and leaped out, screaming! He thought she'd actually done quite well and was surprised at her histrionics. But as it turns out, there was more to the story than meets the eye. Just as the old pickup broke free, she noticed a shed snakeskin on the floor. With one hand on the wheel and the other frantically hunting for the snake, she didn't get as much out of the ride as she could have. Well, Kent commiserated and said sympathetically, "Thank goodness you didn't have to worry about braking." This is Baxter Black from Elmsare.
Thanks, Baxter. We sure appreciate your contribution to our show each and every week. And we're back with more Cattlemen and Cattlemen right after this.
At Case IH, we believe it's our job to provide you with solutions. That's why our Farmall and Maxim tractors, as well as our tools and attachments, are designed with you in mind. From mowing to baling to loading and more, we're here to help turn your to-dos into to-dones. At Case IH, we'll keep your days running smoothly with equipment that's durable, versatile, and highly efficient. No wonder farmers are more loyal to Case IH than any other brand. Visit your local dealer or go to caseih.com/livestock for more.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the NCBA's Cattlemen's Call podcast. Now, the goal of this podcast is to focus on the people in the beef industry. We all have stories to tell. We all have successes and failures, and it's always great to talk about all the hard work that we put in to our operations in our industry. So we're taking the time to talk about what everyone else is talking about for cattlemen and women to share what's on their minds. And make sure and subscribe to the Cattlemen's Call podcast today.
Deep in the heart of Texas, that's where the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show will be in 2020. It's the biggest convention just for cattle producers in San Antonio, a city with an amazing history that's packed with great food and fun. You can't miss it. So make plans now for the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in San Antonio, February 5th to the 7th. Find out more at ncba.org.
NCBA works every day to increase profit opportunities for cattle producers, but the organization's success depends on a strong membership base. We had a chance to ask one South Dakota cattleman why he chooses to be a member of NCBA.
You know, if a person goes and writes that dues check, you think, what am I going to get in return? Where is my value? And all you have to do is come to a meeting like this, or more importantly, look who's making the policy decisions, look who's got the regulatory ear, look who's working with the administration and Congress. It's NCBA. So your dollar is going so far and it's delivering so much. I just wish all the producers out there could see it, because you think at the time you're writing the check, what am I going to get from this? Well, you're not buying a gadget. You're buying a product, and that product really delivers.
Another reason to become an NCBA member is the chance to read the National Cattlemen. It's the official publication of NCBA and provides timely news and articles about the issues and events affecting the beef industry. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member. Just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. We talk a lot about the importance of becoming a member of NCBA. It's because of membership support that we can be successful in our efforts to keep the beef industry viable for future generations. So today in Legacy Photos, we're going to highlight some of those members. Let's take a look. We're grateful for all our NCBA members, and we want to recognize you. Please send us your photos and we'll use them in our membership features on NCBA social media and on Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Simply follow NCBA on Facebook and send us your pictures so we can thank you for all you do. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.